Hi folks, Chris Anderson with Mount Comfort RV. Well, today the weather's a little lousy outside. Still wanted to do another video. Thought maybe indoors would be a better choice today. We're going to talk a little bit about motorhome construction, motorhomes in general, and then specifically how Newmar constructs their motorhomes on the sidewalls, what have you. First, I want to start with a typical motorhome manufacturer. Now, I'm not going to name names, but with the exception of basically Newmar in the industry, this is pretty much how they're all built. You pick a manufacturer and this is going to be a real good example of their wall. And this is a technology that was created, many years ago, 20 plus years ago, of laminating motorhome sidewalls. And basically how it works is it's just many different layers of lightweight material all glued together. Every square inch of it is glued, and it's very strong and it's extremely lightweight. But there are some potential pitfalls in this, and you know, I don't want to completely discount this because some of our manufacturers use this technology as well. But there is a better way to do it, and we're gonna show you that. But let's talk about this a little bit. We have many different layers, and these are done on a big table, not unlike the big table here. They lay out a piece of fiberglass on a table, a big glue machine goes over and covers every square inch with glue, and then they lay down this second layer that you see right here. So you got your fiberglass, and then there's a little layer of wood or luan in there, okay? And that layer goes on next. Then the glue machine goes over it again, and they put in these aluminum studs, and they put in this bead foam. And there's different thicknesses of walls and different thicknesses of bead foam that they can use depending on the manufacturer. And then the glue machine goes over again, and then we get our final layer, which is actually our interior wallboard that you see here. And then this is all pressed, and it's pressed in one of two ways typically. It's either run through a pinch roll application where it's like too big of the old laundry wringers that you used to see, but they're obviously larger scale, and it pinches it, and they use a pressure activated glue. Or in some cases it's vacuum laminated, where they put several walls, they stack them up on top of each other, they put them in this big really thick bag, they suck all the air out, and that puts it under extreme pressure for a period of time, 30-40 minutes, something like that. Either way, you have a laminated wall. But there's a couple pitfalls I want to talk to you about on a laminated wall. First of all, anything that is laminated can at some point delaminate. Delamination is basically where, for one reason or another, the glue fails. And the pitfall with this is when you have a laminated wall, all of your construction, all of your strength, I guess I should say, your structural integrity, if you will, is dependent upon that lamination. And so if it becomes delaminated, well, it's not as strong as it used to be because there's not enough studs in these laminated walls to form the whole coats. They only put studs typically every 2 to 5 feet, and in certain areas where they need to beef it up a little bit, they'll put a stud, but other than that, there's not a lot of studs in these walls. So in the event of delamination, you're actually losing strength in your coach. Depending on how severe it is, depends on how big of a problem you have. So that's one potential problem. Now, why does delamination happen? Well, over the years, they've had some failures with glues, but anytime moisture can get in, because of course, you know, we're going to cut a hole in this and put a window there, or any type of opening that you put there, those are opportunities for moisture to get in and get to that second layer of that luan. And what does wet wood do? Well, wet wood is going to swell up, what have you. So those are potential pitfalls that can cause delamination. Also, here's one of my favorite ones. Oops, didn't work as well. There we go. I can see you right through there. Anywhere there is a stud in a laminated wall, inside that stud there is no insulation. So everywhere they do put a stud, that's one area in your motorhome or travel trailer that is absolutely not laminated. So Newmar's it's not a new way of doing a wall. In fact, it's a very old way of doing a wall. But the reason manufacturers do this is it's quicker. They can do lots of walls all at once. They can run them down the line quicker. They use less aluminum, less materials in it. It's lightweight, it's fast, and they can jam out more motorhomes. The reason Newmar does it kind of the old-fashioned way is because it's just a better wall, but it takes longer. The process itself takes longer. Let's talk about that a little bit. First of all, we're going to start with a little better piece of fiberglass to begin with. The thing that you notice in a Newmar wall is there is no wood layer behind the fiberglass. This is one thick piece of glass here. It's actually thicker than the fiberglass and luan combined in this one. So it's kind of a good comparison there. So you can see. Well, what this means is when you look down the side of a Newmar motorhome, whether it's their cheapest Class A like a Baystar Sport, or if it's a King Air, it doesn't really matter. It's going to be a very straight wall. It's not going to have all this waviness in it that you get with lamination with thinner product. This doesn't bend. This is a little heavier material for sure, and certainly a little thicker material. But the one main thing is there's no chance of moisture getting back in through here and getting to the luan that's in there, because there's no luan in there. So this is just an expensive piece of fiberglass is what it is. This is a much more expensive piece of fiberglass to do it this way, but obviously big benefit there. When you look at the wall, you have your layer of thick fiberglass here. You have your aluminum stud that you see here. Then they do use a layer of bead foam as well, and then they use your inner wall board. This is about our thickest competitor out there. This is a nice thick sidewall for a laminated wall. Look at the difference. It's not even close to who has the thicker wall. That's going to make your coach easier to heat. It's going to make your coach easier to cool. It's going to make your coach quieter. That's the one we hear constantly with people that own Newmars is, man, I don't hear my neighbors as much as I used to, and it's just really quiet inside this motorhome. Well, there's a reason for that. It's not an accident, okay? One of the other things I like to show on here, get to a good angle of it here, the studs are actually not closed on all four sides. It's a C-channel stud. So the insulation is right up in that stud. You can kind of see it from the end over here. Look what you see here. Inside the stud is actually insulation. So unlike the laminated wall where everywhere that you have a stud you don't have insulation, with this you not only have the hung bat style insulation, but you still have of course the other layer of the bead foam as well. So that's one advantage to a wall that's constructed like this. Another one is because it is a C-channel stud and they poke these holes in it. They actually poke the holes in it for a couple reasons. It does reduce weight, but it actually, believe it or not, it makes it stronger when they do it that way as well. They put these little plastic grommets on and they can run the wires right through the wall. Well, that's just how we do it in a house. Well, that's how a Newmar is built. I talk to people all the time about that when you're talking about construction with Newmar, it's going to sound very similar to a house. On the laminated walls, we talked about studs being 2 to 5 feet apart. On a Newmar wall, see if this sounds familiar to you, they're every 16 inches on center all the way around the coach. Sometimes closer together if they need a little extra reinforcement, but they're at the very least, they are 16 inches on center. That's how you build a house. Now, how do they attach this wall? This wall is attached using an adhesive that never fully hardens. If you press on this right now, it feels like kind of like a 3-day-old chewing gum. And we've had this wall for years and years and years. This adhesive is called Sikaflex, and it never fully hardens. Well, that does a couple things for us. Number one, it leaves you a little bit of a cushion there. We're going to take these motorhomes out. We're going to take them down the road. We're going to hit bumps. You're going to hit curbs. You know, you're going to have some impact through the life of a motorhome. Well, knowing that occurs, do you want something that's very rigid and can stress crack because there's absolutely no give in this whatsoever, or do you want something that's got that layer of cushion there, that layer of cushion between the studs and the glass that is there to absorb energy, absorb that abuse so that it doesn't get transferred all the way through your coach and your belongings. So that's a big area there when you see that the Sikaflex is there. They actually, they harden this overnight. When they attach the wall to this, they put braces up, they screw it in place, it's riveted around the outer edges, and then everywhere they need to, they clamp, what have you, but then it sets overnight. You know, a pinch roller, when you pinch roll a wall, it's pinch rolled, it's maybe in the roller for 3-5 seconds, I don't know, it goes through there pretty quickly. When they vacuum bond them, like I said, it's 30-40 minutes in the vacuum bonder. This sets overnight to fully set. Once it's set, it can't come off of here. If you want to have some fun, Google RV delamination, and you're going to see a lot because every manufacturer that laminates has dealt with this to some degree. With the Newmar wall, what you won't read about is any significant problems with Newmar walls. They just build, it takes longer, but they build a better process. But that's why they only put out 8 or 9 a day as opposed to companies putting out 30, 40, 50 motorhomes a day. So big difference there. Talk about a few other things. This is the top beam of their wall. Notice how much structure is actually there for the aluminum. That's a very reinforced piece there. That's your header, if you will. And then this is the bottom of the roof piece, if you will. And see the way it slides down over? This is a separate piece here. That's attached to the roof part, and that slides down over the wall. So it's interlocking. So you don't have screws holding the weight. You actually have two interlocking pieces of aluminum, and that's a very good way of locking that in place. So there's no screws to hold the weight. And again, we'll look up through here. You see you got a layer of your bead foam. Okay. And of course, look in here, we have batt insulation. This should look familiar to you. Where do we see this style of insulation? Well, it's used in your home. And then you come down to the floor, and same thing. What's it full of? It's full of that batt style insulation. When people ask me, why should I buy a Newmar product? My number one answer, and there's several good answers, but my number one answer is it's a better built box. You have studs every 16 inches on center all the way around. You have thicker walls, thicker floor, thicker roof, better insulation, two types of insulation in there. It's going to be quieter, easier to heat, easier to cool, and that's against all competition. They just beat everybody in that regard. So want to make sure we point that out. Here's something that you don't see in a lot of competitors. They put this here for a reason. That outlet, notice it's just a regular residential outlet, and it's fully recessed into the wall. On most manufacturers, you either don't see outlets in the outside wall, or if you do see them in the outside wall, which is rare, they'll have a trim ring behind them that makes it stick out about this far. And the reason for that is because the wall is not thick enough to fully recess an outlet back into, so they have to cheat. They have to use a cheater behind there to bring the outlet out further into the room, because it's physically not a thick enough wall to fully recess an outlet into. With the Newmar, they can put outlets anywhere, practically anywhere, I should say, just because they can fully recess it back into the wall. Now this, you may be confused by some of the differences you see here in materials. We see some vinyl tile here, we see some carpet, we see some ceramic tile. This model that they mocked up for us is just to kind of show you the different examples. On some of the lesser expensive coaches, you're going to see some vinyl on the flooring. You'll certainly have carpet on a lot of the different models, and of course on your higher end coaches, on your diesels, you're going to see a polished porcelain or ceramic tile. This model is just to kind of show you all of them and how they do it and how thick a pad they put under the carpet, what have you. Same thing on roofing materials. I'm going to lean this forward a little bit. You can kind of see both of their roofing materials. On your higher end coaches, you're going to see a fiberglass molded cap that rolls over the top. On your gas coaches, it's an option to have fiberglass on Canyon Star, but most of the gas coaches and some of the diesels are going to have a roof material called Bright Tech. Newmar's been using Bright Tech for years. It's a wonderful product. When they do Bright Tech, they do the Bright Tech only up on top of the motorhome. They put a seam right here, and then they use aluminum over the edges. And the reason for that is when you're driving through the campground, you may get up against a tree branch or something that's out. You don't want to take the chance on tearing the Bright Tech material. The aluminum will put up with a little bit of abuse. So that's a little bit on the Newmar sidewall. This is the biggest difference between Newmar and other manufacturers, is how they build the box itself. I hope this has helped inform people. We're always open for questions, so please give me a call anytime. My name is Chris Anderson. I'm with Mount Comfort RV. Thanks for watching.